Hi, everybody. Welcome to Toolkit Tuesday. Hope you've been doing well. Your year's off to a good start. We are excited to bring you another weekly video to talk about all things events, virtual, hybrid, event planning, and just want to share some things that have been happening for our team over the last couple weeks and some ideas and concepts that I'm kind of playing around with for as we move into hybrid. So I want to share a quick story. We had a full circle moment on Friday. We had a client that we had their event a year ago, and it was just a couple days before the actual event that we learned we had to go completely virtual. And so our team scrambled in just 3 days to get everybody online and to figure out how to do a digital or virtual event. So it was interesting to be a year further down the road, and our team was kind of got a chuckle out as we were producing the show. We, were commenting on, wow, that was a year ago that we had no idea really what we were getting into. And since then, we've produced 50 digital events, and this one on Friday went off without a hitch. And it was really fun to see the growth of our team, the technical tools, and the audience in being able to really engage in a virtual conference. And it went so well. We figured out how to drive attendance to the vendors. The speakers all got where they needed to be online. The attendees worked in the platform well. They figured out how to get to their sessions and were highly engaged. We were employing best practices we'd learned over the past year of how to get them engaged in moderating the chat, and just really, it's almost like you were in training for a whole year and then you just got to run free and show our skills. So it was kind of interesting. But in addition to that taking place, I have been always seeking inspiration on these virtual events from, major media. It was interesting. I was listening to an event where they said, we're not TV producers. If we were, we would be doing the CBS morning show or something. But I do feel like our role as planners has changed over the last year, and we really do need to be more mindful and take some inspiration and best practices from major media events. The Super Bowl, the Oscars, the way that they were doing different things. And so I watched the Grammy Awards I think it's today's Tuesday, so just a couple days ago, watched the Grammy Awards, and I really liked some of the things that they did with that, and I wanted to share those with you today on this Toolkit Tuesday, how I was watching with an eye of a show producer and really trying to see how they were advancing this viewing experience for an event that's typically been held live in a ballroom, and how they were able to use different strategies and techniques to make it a great show. So one of the first things I noticed was their interesting setup around the live component. They were placed in front of, and if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to go look at the highlights of the Grammys if you're an event planner, because I think there's some real good nuggets there. But they were in front of the Staples Center, and it was an open air stage. So he actually, the host was referencing several times, we can't be in here at this venue, but here we are in LA, and that sort of thing. And then they had an open air tent, and at one point during the intro of the show, he did a walkthrough from the open air tent over to the studio where the performances were taking place. And I thought that was really well done. Following him through the physical space was an interesting journey. And then in the studio, it looked like they had 3 different stages set up for 3 different performances at a time. And the only one in that space were the 3 performing groups and the MC and probably the technical team. But I thought that was really interesting how they did that to keep the show going. They had this physical space for performances, and then they had the outdoor tent that was covered, and that audience changed throughout the Grammys. So whatever the next category was, they essentially swapped out the attendees to bring in the next group of nominees. So we were on a call this morning with other planners, and we were talking about how you could use one physical venue, and you could actually have sub-segments of your audience come in live. So we were talking about an internal corporate meeting, how they could have maybe their new employees come in, and then maybe midday they swap to senior leadership, and the next day they swap to top 100 customers, that kind of thing. So I was watching that with interest, how they did that. And I do feel like it gave a really live component to this event last night. And I'm not sure if I couldn't tell if the performances were pre-recorded or live, but the way they swapped from the live setting to the performances was really well done. So just kudos to the team that was working on the Grammys. And I thought that there was some really good stuff there. I really liked also their animation. We're working on an event for May that's got some really interesting stinger videos with animation to kind of let the attendee know we're moving to the next segment. And the Grammys had a really cool kind of flower that opened up with the name of the next category. And we're using that for an awards event. We're using a really cool animated video. It's, kind of a stinger video to lead people into the next category. So it was fun to see that they validated what our plan was for May. Again, I would encourage all of you to really be seeking inspiration around what the new event landscape looks like, sounds like, feels like as an attendee, and don't miss an opportunity to learn from the major pros about broadcasting and how they're doing that well. The other thing I want to talk about is, as we move into these events, I'm getting a lot of questions from clients about when can we be back to live, and that has been such a moving target. We're very optimistic, obviously, with the vaccinations coming in, and talk of this summer people being back to fully be able to move, to live events. But there's still some uncertainty, and even once everything opens up, you've got these factors of people who maybe have not been gotten the vaccine, and also they may not feel comfortable traveling yet, even if they're moving about their own communities. They may not want to travel, and then they may not want to be in a crowded ballroom with others. That consumer confidence may not come back for a while. So there's all these variables. And so our strategy that we're working on with our clients is to assume that we're producing a virtual event and proceed as if we're going to have all of our ticket holders will get all of the offerings for a virtual event. So they've bought a base ticket, and we're looking at it like you bought a flight on an airline. But you may get the opportunity when you get to the airport to be able to upgrade to first class, or you bought a ticket to a concert and then they open up VIP tickets and you're able to go and sit in the front of the stadium and get free beverages and that sort of thing. So what we're doing is we're proceeding as if it's virtual and planning accordingly. And then once we feel like the clients each individually feel like they want to have a live offering, we're going to bring that to the marketplace. Most of our events are ticketed events, but we're going to bring it, even if it was internal corporate or something. You could announce, we do have room, the first 200 can come live, that sort of thing. So it's almost like open the gates, plan your event for virtual, and then add the opportunity to be for those who want to experience it live. And then the other thing around these hybrid events, as we're getting into the hybrid components, I think there's a couple things I want to share today to just be mindful of. You've got to be getting your teams prepared as far as who's going to be supporting what. You need to figure out what you need on your planning team to support hybrid events. Do you need more technicians that understand IT pros, that understand, production? Do you need to get a full-blown live support team together in anticipation of fall or whenever your first one is? Maybe they've been furloughed or doing something else, but is it time to bring back, the reg lead that was going to produce badges? Is it time to get that person on your team that handles the catering and the menu planning and that sort of thing, and really get them started? So really thinking about what you need on your team to support a hybrid event, a virtual team, a live team, and how they're all going to work together. The other piece of this is we're talking about these venues, and I was on a call this morning with other planners. We were talking about what we're seeing from our hotel partners as far as coming to us and saying, we're ready to do your hybrid event. And this is how we are acting and offering differently now. There was a long discussion about the cost of connectivity and Wi-Fi and the stability of it to handle, you know, a full live stream. There was a large brand hotel we were at a couple of years ago for a live event for 1,000 tech people, and their bandwidth, their Wi-Fi was not stable. And it's okay if you're sitting in a ballroom and you're trying to check email and you have to wait a few minutes, but it's not okay if your complete show goes down because that venue doesn't have the right pipeline and the right up and down speeds to accommodate in the ballroom and online. So in addition to that connectivity issue, and then we were talking about the costs, you know, are these hotels going to come back and is it going to be outrageously priced to try to get the connectivity we need to do a hybrid event to accommodate a virtual audience? Certainly there's going to be additional costs and people are working through their budgets for hybrid events. But the other piece is the technicians available to support it. And I was explaining the scenario of this same event we had that was live where we had connectivity issues. They didn't have a support person on the property to handle Wi-Fi issues. They had a call center back in, you know, 2 time zones away that was trying to troubleshoot our event. And there was no one on property that had the technical knowledge or capacity to fix our issue. It was all remote and we were just kind of dead in the water for what felt like an extended period of time. And I just think going into hybrid, that's just not going to be acceptable. The online audience has been in for a year in the saddle watching these online events, and they're going to expect good, solid streaming of all the content. So, you know, those are just some things that are on my mind as we think about hybrid. You know, seating charts, we're playing with a couple seating charts, sponsor packages. We are working through what sponsor opportunities exist in hybrid, meaning how can sponsors show up virtually? How can they show up live? How can they show up both ways? And building those sponsorship packages accordingly. Get your teams ready. Continue to sit in the creative process of what this can be for you and your clients and ultimately the attendees. You know, we really also have the approach that we're not producing 2 events. We're producing 1 event with 2 different audiences. One will be joining us virtually and one will be live. And, you know, you have to have that integration. I may have a live attendee that is down the ballroom, but then they want to go up to their hotel guest room and watch the rest of the keynote. So it's really going to be this interesting gray area where there's intersection points. You know, we're doing one thing around a popular component for one show called Meet the Speakers or Ask the Speakers. So, you know, after an event, when they're in a ballroom and they go up and ask the speaker, stand in line and ask questions, we're going to have that happen. And then we're going to have a studio, which a lot of these venues already built during the past year that you could leverage. And we're going to have the speakers go into the studio and do Ask the Speaker, Meet the Speaker for the online community. So a lot of things rolling around here. I just wanted to say, hope you're doing well and thinking through your new opportunities, that you're as anxious and excited and optimistic about what hybrid can be for all of us. Certainly cannot wait. We talked to our team on Friday when we were doing this event. How do you feel about going back into a venue and being in a war room and being in a ballroom? And, you know, we were all just like, it's going to be weird, but it's going to be amazing. And we continue to grow and learn together and try to produce the best possible experience for our guests as we can. And so hope you're all doing well in the hybrid. Have a great week. Thank you again for joining us for Toolkit Tuesday. And we will continue to try to bring you some best practices, thoughts, ideas as we move into this new landscape. Have a great week. Thanks.